Huge transfer developments at Newcastle United. 2 days after the season has ended and we are already making moves inside the club. Paul Mitchell is out the door. He will be leaving Newcastle United. We'll be looking for a new sporting director to bring in. We lost Ashworth last season and we lost Paul Mitchell now. Just like that, we're looking for a third sporting director to take this takeover project to that next level. And since Paul Mitchell is leaving the football club now, this is the appropriate time to do this. Let's just be straight up and be honest about it. Paul Mitchell and Eddie Howe did not get on. They clearly did not get on. Last summer, if you remember it well, was an absolute nightmare in terms of bringing transfers. Eddie Howe had his list. Paul Mitchell had his list. Nothing worked out. Nothing happened. And it was an absolute stinker 0 out of 10 window. And I don't think it's a coincidence when you look towards the end of this season. Eddie Howe, our man, of course, the chairman at the Public Investment Fund, sat down together, immediate meetings, immediate transfer meetings. You hear Eddie Howe in the press conference after the Everton game spoke quite strongly about this transfer window, and all of a sudden 2 days later Paul Mitchell was gone. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think it probably was a bit of an internal, you call it a bit of an internal hierarchy where some people didn't like Paul Mitchell and eventually they've come to an agreement where Paul Mitchell's going to go and someone else is going to come in for him. Bit of a shame, to be honest, because I think Paul Mitchell's pedigree and his background's actually quite strong. He was good at Southampton, he was good at Tottenham, he of course went out to Monaco and now he's came back to the Premier League. And this one's just not worked out. It just hasn't worked out at all. Now, I remember, if any of you guys watching this video went to the Stack last season, so they had a Stack meeting basically. So what happened in the St James's Stack is that all the different staff members at the club, they all sat down and Paul Mitchell was one of the individuals that was on stage. Now, I remember, because the club, to be fair to them, asked Paul Mitchell like tough questions. They honestly asked him the question, do you and Eddie Howe get along? And Paul Mitchell's answer was so defensive. I remember he came out and he was like, oh, I see it on social media. They think me and Eddie Howe don't like each other. Like, it was a very strong, and I get his point of view that obviously he's trying to take away any backlash for himself, but it was a very defensive answer. And he just came across, well, it's not about it like an Eddie Howe, it's about me and him doing business. I'm not going to speak with him every day, but when I need to speak with him, I will. It's kind of like, it was a real weird response. I remember coming out of that and thinking, well, there probably is something to this. And I don't want to be that guy that's going to speculate and that's going to kind of poke the bear and going to try and prod out any information. But you've got to look at the evidence here. Paul Mitchell is out. It's that simple. He is out in Newcastle United. So there clearly was something going on with Eddie Howe. Let's be real. He clearly didn't have a good relationship with the manager. I think in Eddie Howe's point of view, probably didn't like either Paul Mitchell's advice. He didn't like Paul Mitchell's approach. There was just something about it where the both of them didn't get on. You're not going to sack Eddie Howe, so who do you sack? You sack Paul Mitchell. And it's that simple. And we're going to get someone else that's going to come in now. I'm hoping third time lucky. The next person that's going to come in is going to do a great job. But ultimately, a bit of a shame. It is a bit of a shame, but Paul Mitchell's out. That's it. It's that simple. And I think it is in the best interest of Newcastle. If it was something that's just not working in the background, we need to have a good window now. Do it early. And the club has done it early. So you've got to credit the club. They've done it right this time. They won't make the same mistake twice. And it's not just Paul Mitchell that's going out the door as well. As you already know, Darren Eales has quite a serious illness, a chronic form of blood cancer. He's done well this season. Respect to Darren Eales as well, because he's continued to work this season. He's ill. He's seriously ill. And he's worked all season long just to make sure Newcastle now is looking healthy, is looking well. So he can walk away and someone else can come in. So you got to really respect Darren Eales. And we can talk about, of course, Newcastle winning silverware this season, Newcastle being in the Champions League, going it next season. But the players on the pitch, Eddie Howe on the pitch, will get all the attention. Darren Eales won't get any. I feel like Darren Eales does deserve attention because he's been superb this season. He's done his job. He's ill, still done his job. And now he can walk away, retire, live in Newcastle and see out the rest of his days. Hopefully, happy looking back in his time. And I'll say this to Darren now. I don't think he's watching, but just in case he was, I'll say this now. I hope he does walk away from this with a lot of pride. And I hope he looks back in his football career knowing that he was successful, not just at Atlanta, but he was successful at Newcastle as well. And I feel like he should really be proud of what he has achieved. But again, he's out the door, so someone else is going to come in now. There's been linked to a couple of individuals, but I'm not going to say them just yet, just in case we get it completely wrong. But to make this clear now, I think this is good news. Now, I don't think someone losing their job is good news. Let's make the obvious point clear. But for Newcastle, I actually do think this is good news. Because again, with all the fan speculation that's going on in the background, it seems to be true. There seems to was being it. And just to make this clear in the video, I think this is good news for Newcastle. Now, let's make the obvious point. I don't think somebody losing their job is good news. But, of course, as a Newcastle United fan, I think this is good news in the best interest of this club. This fan drama, fan speculation last season seems to be correct. There was something going on. And now that Newcastle has got the summer window, they've done it nice and early. They've got the guy out straight away. And they made sure Eddie Howe, everyone behind the scenes, is happy and ready to go. And of course, doing this early means you've got more time to bring someone in. And whoever comes in has got a job to do straight away. And I think it's in the best interest of Newcastle because you just got to look at the evidence. Last summer was easily the worst transfer window I've had since the takeover. It just didn't work at all. It was a mess behind this scene, especially that Mark Gay situation. What a shambles that Mark Gay one was. We put about 5 different bids in. Glasnier's going on Sky Sports News just to slag off our transfer. And honestly, anything about that transfer was humiliating for us. It was an absolute shambles. It wasted weeks and heavily depleted Newcastle going into that season. And it's because of Eddie Howe, the players on the pitch and the staff off the pitch would have completely pulled out a miracle, getting silverware and Champions League football from last season, because we had such a horrendous run going into that season because the window was so bad. That transfer window was absolutely awful. And now, due to the fact this guy's out the door, it probably answers the questions he wanted answers without Newcastle directly saying it. Again, Paul Mitchell, wherever he goes next, I wish him all the best. It's not an Ashworth situation where I absolutely despise Dan Ashworth. I don't really care about Paul Mitchell, to be honest. He can do his job now. We're never going to mention the guy again. Someone else will come in, they'll do their job. I don't have any dislike towards the bloke. It's definitely not a Dan Ashworth situation where we all hate him. It's not the case at all. But hasn't worked out, and due to the fact that he's left so early, probably answers the questions that needed to be answered. That is the big breaking news. Darren Hughes and Paul Mitchell are both leaving Newcastle United. Darren Hughes, of course, we already know he's going to leave Newcastle United, but Paul Mitchell, the real shocker, he's gone. Window is about to open and he is gone. That speaks volumes. It speaks quite a lot about last summer. I think it tells you everything you need to know about last summer. And I feel like now Newcastle are not going to fall for it twice. We're going to get it sorted out this time. Hopefully not an Ashford situation, and hopefully not a Paul Mitchell situation. 2 completely different scenarios. Third person, let's hope, let's pray, let's just plead that this one's going to work out, because we need someone that's going to come in as a sporting director that can be good enough to take this club forward. Let's just get it done this time. Let's just make sure he or she is the one that will take Newcastle to that next level.